Liam, we have just entered into the National Biodiversity Centre here in Carriganore. I think Maria and I expected sprays.
I was expecting the hazmat suits and this whole sterile thing, and to be sprayed down and everything, so I wouldn't damage the habitat in anywhere or anything, But no, it's all quite normal.
You look like very regular people.
Well, we're quite normal. We'd like to think we are, at least.
Good stuff. What exactly do you do here?
I suppose really in a nutshell what we're trying to do is compile information on what species we have in Ireland, how they're distributed and how they're changing. It might surprise people that we still don't even know exactly how many species occur in Ireland.
That's extraordinary when you think about that, isn't it?
Absolutely. How do you do that?
Well, we've developed a whole infrastructure, a kind of a web-based infrastructure where we're compiling data. It's an information management system, and we're at a number of different levels. Simply, we're encouraging a lot of members of the public, if they see a species in their travels and they're sure of its identification, that they can submit the data, the information to us, and we add that to the database. And if you can imagine a lot of people submitting data from around the country, we then can build up a very detailed picture on what we have, where it's distributed and how it's changing.
Well, now, speaking of such matter, I was out in the garage last weekend, and I came across what I thought was a very large, unique looking wasp thing that I'd never seen before. It was quite large, as I repeat, and I was in fear of getting stung by this thing. In fact, I had images of myself rolling around the garage, sucking the last bit of blood out of me. My wife and the rest of them totally oblivious to what had happened to me. But I put him into a coffee jar, kept him in there, kept him alive, all the rest. So I took a few pictures, sent it on to yourselves. I thought I had identified what it was, but I was wrong. What did it turn out to be? Now, this looked like a large, skinny wasp that would look like he'd sting the life out of you completely. I'd never seen one, and it turned out
to me like something that would crawl out of somebody's mouth in Silence of the Lambs. So that tells you what I know.
Well, it's nothing quite as exotic as that, but it is actually a species that's not native to Ireland, and it's considered an agricultural or a forestry pest. It's a species of sawfly. It looks fairly exotic, frightening, but actually it's quite harmless.
I had identified it as a wasp, which was actually eating all sorts of queer things going around here and was welcome, but in fact it is a sawfly, as you said, as I carefully released him into the pine forest nearby to let him continue his destruction, thinking how close he had come to his own mortality. Oh my God. But anyways, keep in mind as well, you guys are nationally the institute for keeping an eye on all of this. You're not just Waterford City and County, you're on a national basis. You're getting emails, connections from everywhere.
Yeah, we have a national remit, so we're delighted to be based here in WIT, but our remit is all across the Republic of Ireland. In fact, we work very closely with a sister organisation in Northern Ireland, so we try to we look after documenting biodiversity not only on the island of Ireland, but right out to the 200 or 300 mile limit out to the Rockall Basin. So we have a remit for marine biodiversity as well. But it's all basically digital data, so it's all mapping, and the data is used for analysis and reporting purposes.
And it's a really good time, I think, to have something like this, because there's such a renewed interest in the environment, and everybody is looking around them, I think, in a different way, trying to identify things and trying to find ways that they can help, which can only be helpful to you guys.
Well, I think it's very important because, it was only a couple of weeks ago that the Dáil Éireann declared a climate and biodiversity emergency, and obviously you can't protect or you can't conserve what you don't know you have. Our work is actually critical because, there's some very dramatic changes. We're finding that about a fifth of all the species that have been assessed are threatened with extinction. So that's really scary. And even groups of organisms like bees, we have 99 different species of bees in Ireland. We know that 1/3 of these...
99?
Yes, and 1/3 of these are threatened with extinction. So the work we're doing is really, really important to document what's happening in the environment.
So on that documentation, if people do come across something a bit unique or a bit strange to them, or that they haven't been seen before, that they've been living in a community or grown up in a certain area, Waterford City or County, let you know about it.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of documentation and resources on biodiversity.Ireland.ie, which is the website that people can find out more. But there's also tons of resources. We'd encourage people to go on Facebook and things. There's a lot of networks there of experts who can give you very reliable information. And if you're sure in what you're seeing, please submit the details to Biodiversity Ireland, and the data is really important for us.
You must love when you get something like that and just trying to, either you look at it straight away and go, that's a da-da-da, or like, oh, that's very intriguing. Now, where is that, and where was it found, and how does it fit into the great scheme of things?
That's right. To be honest, the environment is changing actually really dynamically, and all the time, we're finding kind of surprising arises. So it's very nice to be in a position where we're kind of a hub, I suppose, for information coming in, and we're able to kind of relay it and analyse it to find out what's happening. So yeah, it's never a dull moment really for us.
Well, you know what it is, you're like the Men in Black.
And the information that you're collating here, can that be a predictor for things to come?
Well, one of the large pieces of work I suppose we do is we report on invasive alien species. So these are changing all the time, and they do actually have potential to impact seriously on economic activity. And a lot of this is actually what we call horizon scanning. We're trying to see what's happened else in Europe and predict what might come in and what safeguards or what mitigation measures you can take. So it's a very dynamic kind of environment we're working under.
Outside of that thing that I set free in the forest, is there anything of immediate concern in Waterford City, County surrounds that is kind of high on the list of invasive?
There's a number of species that certainly were on a watch list, but again, I'll have to check to see what's specific to Waterford.
Like we're not even talking creepy crawlies here. We haven't even mentioned the fact that there's a lot of plants that people have to be watching out for. Japanese knotweed being one.
Yeah, Japanese knotweed and Himalayan balsam. Even rhododendron is considered a real nasty. So there's a lot of species. I mean, basically the vegetation, the flora that we have in Ireland, a large percentage of it is actually non-native. So it's changing the whole time.
Well, do you know what? It's a fascinating subject, and we could talk to you all day about it. But hopefully we will get to return to you and concentrate more on some of these really interesting factors. But Liam, a real pleasure talking to you and to all the good work you and the team do here at the National Biodiversity Centre in Carriganore. We wish you well.
Great. Thank you very much, Ollie.